Welcome back to the Matinee, Kate.
Welcome back.
It's been a fucking day.
It's been a fucking week.
Yes.
It's been a month and we're only on what? Day 5?
We've barely started, yeah. I had such high hopes for 2024. We've still got time.
It's like the one
So-
fucking quote from Ross. This year was supposed to be great and it's only the second day and I'm a loser.
If that isn't the truth, I don't know what is. So, today we're talking about a drive-by kidnapping. Or at least that's all I know of it.
Yeah,
Is that
okay.
a drive-by kidnapping happened.
Alright. We haven't played the game in a while.
I love the game.
We're playing the fucking game right off the bat.
Yes.
With her last name.
I can't read it upside down. That's unfair.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously her name's Natascha Maria and then
It looks like Kampusch.
Kampusch? I don't know, it's a very, it's an Austrian name.
I'm going to go with Kampusch.
Kampusch?
Kampusch, correct?
Is Austrian, like, very similar to German?
It looks like
Pronunciation.
Kampusch.
Drew.
Drew.
Drew, we need a pronunciation. Drew's
Would
gonna
you
come
like
play
to
the game.
participate in the game on the podcast really quick? How does that look like it would
For
be
that last
said?
name. It's
For
an
a last
Austrian
name.
name.
Kampusch.
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 Knowing that it's a
Kampusch.
German Austrian kind of name. See, I said Kampusch as well. What do you think it is?
I think it's Kampusch also.
Are you saying that because we all said Kampusch?
Well,
I should have had you say it first.
I don't know, Kampusch or Kampusch. I'm going to say this right now. I am not going to pronounce the guy that took her last name. So, Natascha, she was born February 17th, 1988 in Austria. I don't know the town from background that I can understand. My understanding of the background, because it doesn't really go into her life before she was kidnapped. With kidnappings, it's the during and the after, not never the before.
Okay.
But she was raised in Vienna. She had 2 adult sisters, and her parents had divorced. So she was the youngest. She would kind of bounce between living with her father, living with her mother, but she mainly, I believe, lived with her mother. This was kind of the first time that her mom was going to allow her to walk to school by herself because, she was 10.
Right.
It's then, like, end of the 90s. And I think her mom had, like, some kind of appointment. So she was a little busy and was like, okay, you know what, Natascha, can you just walk to school? Like, it'll be okay. We don't live that far.
Right.
And she was walking to school. And later that day, Natascha's mom got a call saying, like, hey, Natascha never made it to school. Like, did you keep her home today? Like, she's just absent. Right. And Natascha's mom's like, no, she walked to school. Like, she should be there. So then they're like, okay, well, like, maybe she just, 10-year-old wants to, be a little rebellious. Maybe she skipped and just waited for her to be home. Or maybe, like, a teacher overlooked her and she was actually there. Some weird kind of
wait a little bit and
instance.
see what's going on.
Yeah, but then she never came home. So, like, they obviously reported her missing. After they reported her missing, a 12-year-old came through that lived in the area that said that she had witnessed 2 men putting Natascha into a van and driving away. Natascha later on would come out and say that it was only...
She does survive this.
Yeah, she does survive. It's horrible what she went through, though. Natascha did confirm that it was only one man that had actually taken her, but she did see that 12-year-old had saw. So she didn't think that she was going to be taken for that long because someone literally watched her fucking get kidnapped. So they knew that she was missing, but they didn't really, like, believe this 12-year-old for some reason.
Why? That's the only witness you have.
Right. So the police did look into it. At least into the van. Okay. Because it was just like a white utility van.
Like the flat, no windows, free candy van?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the end, they had looked at 776 minivans that looked like it.
Wow.
They also fucking looked at the van of the man that took her. So they looked at the fucking van that she got kidnapped in,
but they cleared it.
But it was 2 hours away. It was like 2 towns over, basically.
Okay.
So they were like, okay, He was able to convince him, like, on the day that they knew that she got kidnapped, that he was just at home with the van.
No proof or
No
anything.
proof or anything like that. So the dude that ended up snatching her, his name is Wolfgang.
Heck of a name.
Heck of a name. His last name
is very confusing and has letters in it that I cannot pronounce.
Yes, it is a very interesting name. But you can
easily
find
look
it out
this
by
by looking it up. Absolutely.
Yeah, he stated that he was alone the day of the kidnapping, and the police were satisfied with that, and they didn't look into it more.
They
Because
were
he was
just
like, I was just moving rubble with this van.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like, oh, okay, checks out. Like, you're not even in the same town, so we don't think you would drive 2
Chances
hours
are
away.
low. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the captivity. There is a movie that came out about this, and they kind of go into detail about it, and that's kind of how I found the case. I was on TikTok and I found clips of the movie, and I saw that it was a true story, and I was like, oh shit! Like, I love like looking into movies that are about kidnapping, because like a lot of the fucking time it's based on a true story.
I found a lot of cases by just going to like certain streaming programs and scrolling and seeing what they have for true crime in there and being like, oh, actually, that movie sounds kind of interesting. And
yeah, you find out that it's true.
I find myself researching the case before I even watch the movie.
Yeah. I haven't watched the movie because I do believe it's in another language. I don't think it's so it's a foreign movie, but they did make a movie out of it, and from what I heard, it's very good because the victim actually helped with the movie.
It's always better when it comes to making true crime based on a true story movies. I feel like you need to have someone in it, otherwise it's
it was at least involved someone. Yeah. So when she was first held in captivity, Natascha was held. She was in a small cellar underneath the garage. Entrance was concealed behind a cupboard that was in the kitchen of the dude's house.
Sneaky secret tunnel.
It was only 54 square feet.
That's not much.
No,
it's like a 6x9 room, 6 foot by 9 foot.
The doors made out of reinforced concrete had like reinforcements with steel and rebar and all that, had no windows, and was completely soundproof. So he planned this.
He absolutely had to have planned it.
She was kept in that first cell for 6 months without being able to leave, and only being able to survive off like what he would bring her, and he would like often forget to bring her food. And then after she just kind of became compliant with him, she was allowed to go into the house above during the day, but had to go back to the cell at night.
And the crazy thing is in these kidnapping situations, like, it becomes all too easy to just be forced to listen.
Especially with the 10-year-old. Like, she's thinking, this is an adult, I'm just gonna comply.
Exactly. But even full-grown women have had that, though, where they've ended up becoming completely compliant because it was their only survival mechanism.
Oh, yeah. And it's, like, the only way that you can kind of guarantee that they're not going to kill you because you're doing what they want.
Right.
But she would also be in that cell when he was at work, obviously.
Right.
However, even later, I don't know how long into her captivity, she was allowed to go outside into the garden. But his house had a kind of like a hedge around it, so you could see into it, but you couldn't see that well, because she was even fucking seen by other people on the street in the garden, but they just didn't connect the dots because it was 2 hours later, and they just thought, oh, that dude has a daughter.
That's cool. Didn't even know that. Don't really talk to him anyway.
Yeah.
Point of clarification for U.S. listeners that are not aware, over in Europe, the backyard is called the garden. It does not mean that it's like a garden.
Yes.
It's the backyard.
I think he did have like some vegetable. He had a garden inside of that, and that's what she was allowed to go and like tend to and all of that kind of stuff.
I suppose that's probably a lot of the food she ended up eating.
Well, because she was expected to make his meals and basically be his slave, and like
10 years old, she could probably barely cook mac and cheese.
Well, at this point, she wasn't 10.
Oh, this was after she had grown up quite a bit. I suppose. How long was she there, all in all, or is that like a comes up later thing?
It comes up.
Okay.
Other people would come to the house, like Wolfgang's business fucking partner came over and met Natascha. and they talked with each other.
And she didn't know if they knew and would be just
and
like him.
And he would
or
later
not,
state to police that every single time that he saw her, because it was multiple occasions, that she was very relaxed and just like happy and very compliant, like would do anything that he would ask. Like he was like, oh, like, can you go make us some lunch? Or because we're gonna go have a business meeting. And she'd be like, oh yes, dear, and all that kind of stuff. So she was kind of heavily trained to be his, I want to say pet, because like,
it scares me to ask this, but I also think it might be something that comes up later. Was she molested?
Oh yeah, like there was times where he would get mad because she would be wearing underwear. Like she the main thing that she was allowed to wear was an oversized shirt and underwear, and he'd get mad that he would notice like that she would get on her tippy toes to like go grab something out of a cupboard and be like, who said you can fucking wear underwear right now? And she'd have to like instantly take it off and like go about to what she was doing.
I'm making so many faces.
Yes. This one's bad. But it's also the fact that people fucking met her. People were talking to her and she was seeing this outside world. But
she was so completely and totally basically brainwashed at that point that she didn't ask for help.
This next part's going to piss you off so bad. Her 18th birthday. She was 10 when she was captured. 18th birthday. She was allowed to go with him in public.
Almost half of her life in captivity. I mean.
And he, the whole time, was threatening her. It was like, hey, if you make any fucking noise, I'm going to kill you. And that's what kind of kept her in line. He took her on a skiing trip.
She could have skied the fuck away.
Took her to a skiing trip in a resort that was near Vienna. She was kept around, like, again, 2 hours away from her hometown, so she didn't know anybody here. Sometimes she would deny that the trip happened. Other times she would be like, yeah, it happened. I went with him, but I had no opportunity to escape. He was always next to me and never left me alone.
Okay.
Kind of going to go into her kind of daily routine. Would be getting up really early and making breakfast for him. He did give her books so she could educate herself because he didn't want a dumb broad living with him. So he gave her educational books. However, she said that she didn't feel that she had missed anything during her kidnapping, but noted that she spared herself many things like not smoking or drinking and hanging out with a bad company. So she was somewhat thankful that she didn't get roped into the wrong crowd because she was held in captivity.
She didn't end up having all those peer pressure problems that realistically a lot of teenagers have today.
Yeah. So she was also given a radio to listen to pass the time. Later on, she was allowed to watch TV. She was initially only allowed to watch kind of taped programs and listen to foreign radio stations. So she couldn't listen to see, because this whole time he was telling her, your family hates you. They don't want you.
They told me to take you away.
They told me to take you.
So they didn't want her to see broadcasts or hear radio broadcasts.
Yeah, because her parents at this point were like on the radio telling like people, like they were putting it out everywhere. They were doing like the press conference of like bring her home, and he was trying to make sure that she didn't see any of that, and she ended up not.
So he waited long enough after where they thought, okay, this is it. She's been gone too long. She's got to be dead. There's no way she survived this winter type of thing.
At one point, she did try to escape by jumping out of a moving car, and he was able to, like, grab her and bring her back. And then when they got back to the house, she was beaten so badly that she couldn't walk for a little while. He then started to starve her a lot more because she was already, like, starved. So she was really fucking thin.
Now she was being quote unquote punished.
And then he started ramping up the sexual assault. So it was like he found out that she tried to escape, and he was just like, all right, well, now I'm gonna make you actually
now I'm gonna make you hate being here. As if, well, even in front of the company that said that she seemed happy and relaxed, like,
she was fucking terrified.
You can't tell me that she was happy there.
Wolfgang had told her that all of the doors and windows and any kind of like escape out of the house was all like booby trapped with fucking explosives. He also claimed that he was always carrying a gun to threaten her with, and that he would kill the neighbors if she tried to escape. So she didn't want to escape because of the fact that
it was now more than just her life.
It was more than just her life.
Stake, yeah.
And that's what made her stay for a while. She was taken in 1998.
Okay.
August 23rd of 2006. She was outside vacuuming the white van that she had been kidnapped in.
He still had the same van.
Still had the same van, and he was making her clean it. And he got a phone call. And obviously the vacuum's very loud, so he walked away. She kind of noticed, oh shit, he fucking walked away.
Mm-hmm.
He can't hear anything because of the vacuum. So she left the fucking vacuum running.
Okay.
And hit it. And she ran and slipped through the front gate because it was a gated house.
Mm-hmm.
And she ran over 200 meters to the next neighbor's house because she didn't go right next door because they knew about her.
Mm.
But on her way to the house, she was yelling for people to call the police, but no one paid attention to her.
Which, wow.
Mm-hmm. She got to the house of a 70-year-old woman yelling that she was the Natascha that's been missing. So they called the police, and she was taken into custody, and then they did. The one thing that her parents had said was like, oh, she has this scar somewhere on her body. They didn't specify where that I could find that proves to her. So they were kind of like, oh, if you find like a body or if someone comes up that has the scar, and then also they did DNA testing. Later, they also, like when they went through the house, they found her passport because she had her passport with her because they were going to go on a field trip to the next country over.
So he got her a passport and everything?
No.
Or the family had the passport?
The family had the passport,
okay.
And it was in her backpack when she was taken.
Okay.
When she was taken, she weighed 99 pounds.
When she was kidnapped
When
as
she
a
was
child?
kidnapped as a 10-year-old. When she was saved, she only weighed 106 pounds.
And she was, what, 18 when she was saved?
She was 10 in 98, and then
2006, she would have been 18.
A little bit, yeah. Probably closer to 19.
Probably.
Yeah, she would have just turned 19, I believe. Wow. Only weighing 106 pounds. She only grew 5.9 inches taller from the height that she was when she was 10. Because that's how...
Because she was so malnourished.
Yeah. After realizing that Natascha had escaped, Wolfgang drove his car to the nearest train track and tried to kill himself by...
Parking on the tracks, or...
Well, actually, you know what? He didn't try. He jumped in front of a moving train and killed himself. Because he knew he was fucked.
I feel bad for the train driver.
Yeah.
Although, maybe they saw him a little bit more like a hero.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, when they finally searched the house, because she brought him back to the house, they found evidence that Wolfgang was trying to get fake IDs.
Okay.
For Slovakia to move him and Natascha there to, make a new life. And it was also at that point that they had told Natascha that he had jumped in front of a train, and she burst into fucking tears because he was dead.
It's
and
finally
it wasn't
over.
But it wasn't a finally over. She was sad that he was dead.
She was so manipulated by him over the whole course of this.
Her family kind of gets weird about it because she had this very strange relationship with him because, yes, he was her captor and everything like that, but she did have, I feel like a little bit of Stockholm was happening here because she did care about him.
Well, when that's pretty much the only person you interact with over the course of 8 years.
I don't blame her at all, but I don't want to say she defends him, but she gets very weird about the whole thing. She never also kind of went into detail about exactly what had happened.
Okay.
So we never know exactly how he sexually assaulted her or any of that kind of stuff because she didn't want to give that information up.
Just that it happened.
She said that it happened, but she didn't want to go into the nitty-gritty of it. She also sympathized with Wolfgang and said that I feel more and more sorry for him. He's a poor soul. According to police, Natascha cried inconsolably when she was told that he was dead and that she lit a candle for him at the morgue. But she still referred to him as a criminal.
Honestly, I think, well, I shouldn't say I think, I wonder if he really kind of bared his soul to her. Maybe there was something in his life happened that made him turn to this. And maybe that's the part of him that she feels sorrow for.
I feel like there was times where he was really, really nice to her. and then he would get really bad, and then he'd be really, really nice. So I think it was a lot of like love bombing happening and all of that kind of stuff. A lot of psychologists did kind of suggest that she did have the Stockholm syndrome, but she like constantly denied it. I feel like a little bit of denial there. There's nothing wrong with it. It happens. Your brain just goes, I need something to latch onto. It happens. It is not your fault that it happens. She says that people who say that she has the Stockholm syndrome do not allow her to describe the complex relationship that she had with Wolfgang in her own words. But yet she does describe it, but she doesn't describe it in a way that we don't know a whole lot about exactly what happened. But there is a movie that came out in 2013 called 3096 Days, which obviously is how long she was kept.
And you said this was a foreign language movie?
I believe it might not be. I don't know. I haven't seen it. The parts that I saw didn't have like any dialogue stuff on it. Okay. Here's the funny part. She bought the house that she was kept in, and she lives in it to this day.
Okay. Did she fill in that pit in the basement?
I don't know, but she's saying that she bought the house because it was such a big part of her formative years, and that she did. She also filled in the cellar so it would not be a macabre museum to her lost adolescence. But as of 2017, she still owns the house. She also has no contact with her parents anymore because of how close she was to Wolfgang and how she kind of defended him and all of this other kind of stuff. So I don't think she got exactly the quite necessary help that she needed after this traumatic experience. Because
she still feels the attachment to him.
She still visits his grave every year too.
Just about the entirety of her formative years were spent in that house with that man, and that's when the only emotions you feel for that length of time involve that person. You can't just like quote unquote fall out of love with somebody.
No,
not necessarily
and like,
to say that
she
she
went from a small child to an adult
him,
with him. Like it. I don't blame her. I just wish that she did get the help, and I'm sad that her parents essentially lost their child twice. But I also kind of get how she's not the same kid that they lost. Like
right. I mean,
like
they probably lost a bubbly, happy little 10-year-old, and that's not what they have anymore.
No. I find this horrible, but a lot of because when I was researching stuff and everything like that, there was also some other TikToks that I found that were talking about it and showed her in like, today. And a lot of people like make fun of her because, now she is a little bit like heavier set, and it's like, you gotta think like
she can get her own food now.
She went from not eating like anything to now being able to have a healthy diet, and her body probably just went like, fuck, we're getting these calories now, like we're gonna store that bitch. Like There's a picture that I'm probably going to show you afterwards, because like when they had found her, they covered her in like a blanket so other people couldn't like see her like when she was moving to the police station, but you can see her legs.
Little skeleton legs.
Skeleton legs, but they're also like horribly discolored.
Probably from lack of nutrition
and being beat, having, I think she had like some kind of pelvis injury, but that's the story of Natascha that was held captive for over 3,000 days and escaped because a vacuum was too loud.
So if anybody gets kidnapped,
get your hands on a vacuum. No, but like it's one of those cases where the people don't have the they just don't go to that old life like you would think that they would.
There's not really a way to. I mean,
no.
With those formative years being spent in that situation, I mean that's the routine she grew up. That's the life she learned, and in those years,
that was the only person she was ever intimate with, like that she was intimate with in those years. So like, there's that connection with that, and so it's like,
I'm wondering if it was all forced or if there were times where it was mutual intimacy.
Possibly.
I mean, with those
I
formative
think he
years,
was just so good at
know.
manipulation that he was able to make it seem like she wanted it more than he was.
That makes sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
But I think her living in the house now is giving her closure, because now she has control of the area. I don't know if in today she still owns it or not.
I am kind of a little bit reading your notes upside down. You said that it says on your notes that her mother doesn't talk to her because she still visits his grave.
Yeah.
Like, I would see it as a I'm in control now sort of thing if it weren't for the visiting the grave.
Yes.
Depending on what's going on. I mean, everybody mourns in their own way. But, like, if she's going to his grave and being like, yeah, you fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, I win.
It could just be a
then
way
it'd be
of
like,
being
okay,
like,
I
I survived,
but
you didn't. This is how it is. That
but
I could
if her mother's
understand.
not talking to her because of the visitations, then those visitations probably are not going that way. And that's where I feel like you said, if she'd gotten the help she needed right after she got out of that situation, she might not have these
I think if she was
unhealthy
able to escape when she
attachments.
was younger, it would have been a lot better for her.
If they had
In
just,
the mental
if they had
is
just
way.
found her after that 12-year-old was like, hey, this happened. Like, they talked to the guy.
Yes, that's what pisses
They
me
looked
off.
at the van.
Yeah.
And they didn't find anything to prove that she had been there.
No.
There was no due diligence there, for sure.
No, I mean, they did look at a lot of fucking vans,
I
but
will
I
give
feel
them
like
credit,
they should have
yeah.
just asked the right questions
Yes.
and been a little bit more like, this guy looks a little shady with this. Maybe we should look into things more. But it's like also the fact that the police were right out fucking side when she was in that cellar.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're standing up above her, holding a conversation. And
But it also makes me wonder, like, what his end game was. Like, I know he wanted to go and start a new life, but was he just going to be like, you're my wife now?
probably.
And
That was probably why he was wanting to get the fake IDs made, because now she was legal, so they could live somewhere else and get married, and hey, guess what? You're stuck with me now.
Yeah.
Because in the one town, everybody was going, oh, that's probably just his daughter. That's probably just his daughter.
Yeah, because it was a 10-year-old running around. And then
It's
like,
such an insane
can't
case.
imagine over 8 years. Because, you know, like, obviously the people who are kept in captivity for that long, like the one that happened down in the case that Faith did, that they were like in for like what how many years was that? It was over 10.
I can't remember. It was so many cases ago.
Yes, but they know what I'm talking about. But like, it's crazy to think that she was a strong breed to like survive. But I do think that very early on she just kind of accepted it. Was like, this is my life now. I'm gonna make the best of it. And mentally, she just kind of compensated for that.
I would like to think that with more time out of that situation, maybe things will mellow out a bit more. But
I
the
think
fact
personally
that
she needs to step out of the limelight, because I know she's been doing like book deals and you know, obviously with the movie, I think she just needs to put it behind her and just kind of learn to live a life that is her own and not living in the shadows of him still.
that was wise as fuck for someone so mentally exhausted. I'm so proud.
Thanks.
So that was Natascha's case. Let us know down below how much of a doozy it was. We're going to kind of hit or miss bring the doozy scale back, so it's going to depend on what kind of questions that we might have to ask you guys, sort of thing.
Just kind of like we've weaned out the snacks, because coming up with snacks is so fucking hard.
They'll be here now and again, but not super duper often. We did get on our last episode a request for a case.
Yes.
I can't remember it.
Swamp Angel.
Swamp Angel, yes. We are going to take care of the Swamp Angel case, but we're going to kind of tag team this one.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do, like, the history of the river people a little bit more. It's all going to be one episode, but, like, we're both going to take turns hosting on it. So I'm going to kind of cover the historical aspect of things, if you wanted to.
Yes, I'm actually going to get the book that was
so
written.
it's going to be a little bit, we're going to make sure that we get really, really good research.
Because I'm also getting like heavily into my Jonestown fucking research right now. I gotta get a couple of books for them, so I think I'll just order them all at the same time. Guys, Jonestown is gonna be...
It's gonna be a long
massive.
episode. We were talking about
It might
the possibility of doing it in multiple episodes, but
simply so that I am not talking your ear off for like 4.5 hours.
I assure you that we will only go to multiple episodes if one portion takes 2 hours.
Jonestown, the beginning is easily going to take 2.5 hours. See, here's the thing of how I can get away with, yes, it's a cult, but it's also technically, it's not a mass suicide. They don't classify it as a mass suicide. They classify it as a mass murder.
Okay.
So I can get away with it not even being a cult. But it's going to be posted on a different day just because of the fact that I am not going to sit here and be able to record it all in one day.
Right.
And I think also to help my aspect is I might do all of the research of before, the middle, and the after, and then kind of record it as we go there, just so then it's not...
We'll see how
so
it all
bad.
comes out.
It's going to be a hot
Obviously-
minute. Don't expect it within the next couple of months. It's
maybe by the end of 2024. So
I think by summer.
Yeah. We've got things coming, though, so
Mhm.
we will see you guys next week.
Yeah.
For my case, it'll be my turn, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.